Hello, everybody, and welcome to the fourth episode of Let's Play It by Ear podcast. You are here with me, Carrie, and my co-host, Joanna.
Hello!
And in this episode, we are going to talk about expectations versus reality, movement 2, rehearsals, and concerts.
Oh boy.
Quite a bit to cover here, too.
Yeah. More myths, more realities to send your way. Well,
yeah.
So, I guess let's just jump right into it, shall we? Rehearsals. Well, what myths about rehearsals did you have? Or how did you think rehearsals were going to go?
I thought rehearsals were going to be just playing music from start to end, and that was it.
And that was it? Just playing from start to end?
I think so, because coming into music school, I didn't have a lot of ensemble experience. It was... Actually, no, that's a lie. I did band throughout high school, but band is quite different from orchestra, so I've never really played in a proper orchestra.
I see.
So I thought, like, oh, okay, yeah, everyone's going to be good enough. You can just run through the pieces, and you'll be fine and dandy. That was my myth.
And what
about yours?
Well, before we move on to mine, what actually happened?
Oh, yeah, no, that didn't happen. It was play one bar, stop. Usually conductors don't yell out stop. Yeah, it was start and stop, start and stop, start and stop, and work on different sections, or call out your section. Bassoons, can you play measure blah 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 to blah blah blah? Let me hear that. I think your intonation there is off. Oh, I think your rhythm there is wrong.
Just that feeling of being put on the spot in front of everyone, right?
Yeah.
Oh, my
Mind you, that doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And it can happen.
It's true, especially with bassoons. That does not happen often, I would say. Yeah. So, here's the thing, though. I will say, I always felt sorry for anyone who was called out to play their part alone in front of the entire orchestra. You felt this too, right?
Of course, because you would be asking inside of your head, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to help.
I don't think so either, but we definitely have had experiences with some conductors who would do this type of thing, right? It's one thing to call out an entire section, which I would still be like the way that I think of it when a section is called out, I'm like, oh, okay, they're just going to work on their thing, whatever. And I don't actually care. But if it's a single person called out, it just, you feel so hard for them. Like, just so you guys know, if you're ever called out, single to do only your part, just know the rest of the orchestra feels sorry for you and is more on your side than on the conductor's side.
Yeah. Unless if you're calling out that person to work on trying a different tone color or experimenting with something.
Yeah, that's different.
Playing a different way, that's okay.
Yeah.
But if you're calling them out to show them that they cannot play their part, they know.
We've seen conductors do this before.
Yeah.
It feels so bad. We do enjoy the conductors that call out whoever's doing a solo and be like, hey, can you play it in a slightly different expression or a slightly different tone color, as you said, or just in a slightly different style, or maybe they might demonstrate by singing it, be like, hey, can you play it more like this, and because that brings out more the artistry of rehearsing together. And that everyone finds very interesting, if anything. The public humiliation, definitely everyone feels it. And it feels bad.
It's terrible.
I wasn't expecting that. I definitely had rehearsals. Obviously, I was part of the, as we said in previous episodes, I was part of the Vancouver Academy Orchestra. So I I had those experiences of essentially a college level orchestra already prior to going into university. So I didn't have quite the myth that you had that we would just play through all the way through. Yeah. Was that a shock to you when you realized that we weren't going to do that?
Yeah. I was like, why can't we just play through everything? I like the music, right?
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Well, you had a lot of experience.
Yeah. So that part wasn't a myth to me. The part that was a myth to me was the scheduling of the rehearsals. So no one ever tells you this, but when you get into music school, you actually have to kind of schedule a lot of your own stuff. So I really took for granted, because like all of my previous experiences with youth orchestras, with, like if I were to meet people to do, I don't know, some sort of flute duet, flute choir, whatever, like we never had to arrange our own time to rehearse. I never had that experience. So essentially, right from the get-go, you need to know how to contact people to arrange a time that works for everyone to do a rehearsal. And so essentially you're thrown into scheduling logistics. And how do you do this with, for example, if you're in a wind quintet with 4 other people, with five different schedules that you're working with, right? Yeah. Basically, it's like, how do you do that? No one ever tells you how to do it. And so you're just kind of thrown in there as like a 17, 18-year-old if you're fresh out of high school. And you're just kind of like, I don't really know how to do this. And so I learned early on that you had to give all of your availabilities. So everyone has to give all their availabilities to see what overlaps. And you really have no choice when to have rehearsal. You have to just go with what overlaps with everyone else.
Right.
No one told me that when you go into music school, it's basically scheduling logistics up the wazoo. All right. Like that's even the case for scheduling lessons with your teacher.
It is.
Right. So I was always under the impression that I would go to music school and I would just be assigned my classes, and rehearsals are classes. So they would just be like, assigned to a specific hour. Right. But that ain't how it works. No. People have minors. People, go to other buildings on the campus for other classes, that are happening at maybe the same time that you would be available for a rehearsal, but they wouldn't be. So, that was my big myth. My big myth was that everything would be assigned to you. But no, you actually need to learn how to do effective schedule logistics.
Yeah. And talking about schedules, you also have to be very careful that you don't double book yourself.
Yes.
Because if that happens, who do you tell?
I don't recall this happening to me, although I very much believe that it must have happened. But yeah, who do you tell? Because at that point, you then have to make a decision which one is the higher priority.
Yeah.
But that does mean that you are missing out on whatever class it is that you had double booked, or whatever other rehearsal that you have double booked. Yeah. So keeping your schedule very clean is key. You have to write not just the day that something is happening. You can't hold it in your head. You have to write it down in a calendar Right now, I live by Google Calendar. Google Calendar tells me what to do basically hour
Yes.
by hour. You know, that's the reason why we can sit here talking to each other right now, because Google Calendar told me to, you know?
Yes.
Like, and like the thing with Google Calendar is that it is very easy now with the apps that, with scheduling apps that we have, to see when things have double booked. You can very easily see it now. So it's not like then when, because back then I definitely did not use Google Calendar. I was using a physical agenda, a physical schedule. And yeah, if you lost that schedule, if you lost that agenda, like
You're screwed.
you are screwed, because you don't necessarily know what's coming up next. Because like I still have nightmares right now of losing my agenda.
Yeah. I have nightmares still of missing rehearsals, missing concerts. But the reason why I brought up double booking is because like I did a minor, so I had to plan out essentially ahead of time what courses I could take and when I could take them. Not the time of day, but which year I could actually take them to fulfill the minor.
Yeah.
Because I remember going to the advisor saying, okay, yes, I want to do a minor. I want to do these courses, and the time of this course fits with my schedule here. And she comes back to me and said, no, it doesn't. Because you don't see in your schedule what you don't see in your schedule right now are rehearsals,
Oh my god.
orchestra rehearsals that haven't been scheduled yet. So that, okay. Well, so I had to learn to like not schedule things so I don't get double booked, because I need to go to rehearsals to fulfill the music major requirements and push some of the psychology courses back into later years.
Yep. Yep.
But I essentially maxed out my credits each year doing that.
Holy cow. Yeah.
I remember the advisor telling me, okay, I think you've reached your maximum for this year. You need to stop.
Wow. But you kind of had to, because
I had to.
You were pre-planning literally your entire degree.
I was kind of pre-planning my 4 years. Because I'm that type of person. I have a need to plan so I can see where I'm going. Otherwise I get anxious.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I definitely probably should have done a little bit more of that. The reason why I laugh like that is because just to give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek of something that we will probably be talking about later, I did not actually declare my minor until halfway through third year. Because I was just willy-nilly taking English courses, not really caring what they were. If it just looked interesting and was in my like year, that I just took it. And I found out in the beginning of third year through talking with my course advisor that I was only two courses away from getting an English Lit minor. So, or getting a minor in English literature. And so she was like, you might as well take these 2 courses over the summer and then you'll get an English Lit minor. So I got lucky is what I'm saying. Like it really could have been a complete catastrophe for me. But the thing is, I didn't care. I actually didn't even want to minor in anything. So that's why I didn't care. And I was just kind of taking courses like whatever,
La-di-da.
Yeah, la-li-la. Ooh, this looks interesting. I'll take that. Oh, that looks interesting. I'll take that, So
Yeah.
I very much did not, like, the way I planned was to plan not to take any science or math courses.
I had that plan too.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was my plan. My planning was I am going to arrange my courses so that I don't have to take math and science. And I want to arrange my courses in such a way that the buildings are not too far away either.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's why I took English Lit, because all the English buildings were next to the music building.
Right. Oh, lucky you. I had to run. It still wasn't across campus,
Yeah.
luckily, but it was 10, 15 minutes down the road.
Oh my gosh.
I had to run with my bassoon.
Oh my
I need to.
gosh. Oh gosh.
And I had to
Yeah.
leave class early too, I think, because back then I don't think they had implemented the 10 minutes before the hour practice where so to
Oh.
allow students to get to
Right. Yes,
the
yes,
other
yes.
next class.
Yes, yes.
But there was no way I could leave right on the dot because rehearsal was going to start.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as you will find out when you get to music school, yeah, you don't arrive when rehearsals start.
Yeah.
You arrive 10, 15 minutes at least earlier.
Yep.
So you can put your instrument together, tune, warm up.
Yep.
If you're a reed player, soak your reeds,
Yep.
scrape your reeds.
Yep. Yeah. So that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
scheduling again.
Scheduling is like basically like I think my myth was that everything would work out and that they just assigned you the schedules so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
And well, nope, that's not the case.
I wished.
Yeah.
I wished hard.
Yeah. And like I think the other thing is that when you see those gaps of time in your schedule, you think it's a lot of time, but it's not.
It's not.
Like it's actually insane how fast an hour can just be up,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you're just doing schedule logistics for that entire hour,
You are.
you know, and it's gone, you know, and then you had planned to do your homework in there or you had planned to practice and then you didn't,
Yeah.
you know, like it's kind of insane how that can happen to you. But at the same time, if that does happen to you, like I wish someone told me that that's okay. Stuff happens and you can start over again the next day. You know, like 1 hour of missed practice is okay. It's not going to hurt you, you know?
Yeah.
Like
A break is good.
exactly. Like 1 hour of missed homework time. I guess you have to do half an hour tonight and half an hour tomorrow extra. That's okay.
Yeah.
Just don't let it snowball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also just, even if you miss an hour of practice here or there or a bit of homework time here or there, make sure you stay organized.
Mm-hmm.
That way you can make up for lost time, I guess.
Yep. Absolutely.
Fun little story, though. I don't think I told you. Many times when I was doing my scheduling, I don't remember what exactly that device was called. I wish I had that device that Hermione had. The
Time turner.
Yeah. Oh man, I wished so badly I had that.
I know.
That way I could take all the classes that I needed.
I mean, you know why she had that. She did that to take multiple classes at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, and also I'm guessing to also study multiple things at the same time, you know, like that would have been so useful, to be completely honest.
That's why I wish I had it.
Oh my God. Yeah, you definitely feel like you're doing too many things in music school. Yeah. But just know that it is possible. You can do it.
Yeah. It is. You just have to be a little bit creative sometimes.
Yes.
Or sometimes you will run into mishaps.
Yeah. Yeah.
That brings me to my next story.
Tell it. Tell it.
Yeah, sometimes you just feel like you're a chicken running with its head cut off because you have so many things going on at the same time. Before I tell the story, the biggest takeaway is just to keep everything organized and in its own space, in its own place, so you don't have to do what I did. So what happened was basically, we were on stage preparing to play a concert.
Wait, no, this happened at a concert?
It happened at a concert.
I thought it happened during rehearsal. Anyway, go on.
No.
Go on. Oh, no.
My. If it was at a rehearsal, it'd be so much better. It was the concert.
Oh, no. What happened?
I was panicking. I was ready to pee my pants. I was that nervous. Yeah, so we were all on stage. Everyone, pretty much everyone was on stage, and the last string players were trickling on. The tuning note hadn't sounded yet, so I knew we had maximum like 3-4 minutes maybe before the lights dimmed and the concert was really about to start. So I was looking through my music, making sure everything's in order, making sure all of the sheet music is there. It wasn't, or so I thought. Yeah, I could not see the last piece that we were going to play. So I looked through my music again, looked through it 3 times, still couldn't find it. So I told the first bassoon player, okay, I think I'm missing this piece. I think I have it in my locker. With my dress shoes on, I bolted back to the music building, ran up the stairs to the 3rd floor, opened my locker, looked through everything. It wasn't there. So I panicked even more. And I ran back to the concert hall, ran back on stage. My heart was beating like over 130
Oh my God.
beats in a minute, I guess. I don't know. My heart was racing.
Yeah.
Looked through it again, couldn't find it, slowed down, sat down, looked through every single sheet, lifted up every single sheet. It was stuck to the last sheet. I had the music there all along.
But it was just stuck to the other one?
It was just stuck to the other one.
Oh my God.
So I played the concert with maximum adrenaline.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That is the stuff of nightmares, literally. Like, I have nightmares like that.
Yeah. I do too. I still do.
Oh my God.
I dreamt I had to play off a picture once. It was my final recital. I had to play off a picture. I mean, I don't know how anyone would do that.
Oh my God. Oh, what? Oh.
Yeah. So I guess lesson learned, it's okay to take time and slow down sometimes just to make sure, check in with yourself.
Yeah.
Make sure you're okay.
Yeah, that's a great segue to my story.
Yes.
So
another juicy one.
I have a similar-ish story about like essentially forgetting your music. And just not being really organized. It's actually, you know what, weirdly, I think the theme of this is that neither of us were in the right headspace.
Bang on.
Right? Because if you were in the right headspace, you would have just kind of ruffled the pages a bit and then you would have seen it, right?
Yeah.
But because we were not in the right headspace, we both got into these situations. So my situation was that, so I lived with my parents at that time, and they had taken a week-long trip out, just my parents. So it was just my brother and I at home together. And now here's the thing. My whole family drinks coffee. All right. And so because the whole family drinks coffee, obviously in the morning, you would just, make one big pot of coffee, right? So, it kind of became our family tradition in the morning, kind of our family wake up routine was that my dad, because my dad was the one who would get up earliest. And so he'd get up, take a shower, and then he would get ready. But before he went to take a shower, the first thing he would do is go downstairs and make a pot of coffee. And then while the coffee is going, he would come back up and then he would start to get ready, take a shower and all that stuff. And so that was actually how I used to wake up. I used to wake up to the sound of my dad showering and getting ready for the day. And
pretty soothing.
Yeah. And the smell of coffee kind of wafting up into this, throughout the house basically. Yeah. So, but the thing is, because it makes sense, right? As a family, you just make one big pot for everyone, right? And it was my dad's thing to make the pot of coffee. But then suddenly they were not there for that 1 week, right? And so me, like, I was not used to the idea of getting up to make a pot of coffee, right? Before going to school. So I was like, whatever, I'm just going to get up at my usual time and just go to school. Now, what I did not realize was that I had developed an intense coffee addiction. Looking back now, I realized it was really bad. I used to drink approximately 5 cups of coffee a day.
I remember that.
Yep. Carrie remembers that version of Joanna. And so, going from 5 cups of coffee a day and having to definitely wake up with a cup of coffee in the morning, you can imagine what I was like for that day at school. It was like, I just felt like I was a zombie. Complete zombie, was half awake for everything. I don't even know how I safely drove to school. I don't know how I safely drove to school. And I just remember going from class to class just feeling like I was in this haze, and then I was starting to get a pounding headache. Basically all the symptoms of withdrawal.
Yeah.
Like I was exhibiting every symptom of withdrawal. And then, I got lucky. I just happened to have like an hour or two of I think about 2 hours of a break between a class and our band rehearsal. And so I was like, la-ti-ta, let me get my backpack ready. So I went to my locker to get my music. And then I realized it wasn't in there. Obviously, it's not in my backpack. So I was like, I never leave anything in the car. I think I know where my music is. It's at home. Now I lived approximately a half-hour drive away from school, and I was like, okay, I got 2 hours. So,
1 hour back and forth.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? I'm going home. Like, I have no choice. I have no music.
Yeah.
And it's not like now where people can just go on IMSLP and find a bunch of music. You know what I mean? Like, it was not like that. You could not do that, right? It was not a thing back then. So you wherever your music was, that was where it was, and you only had that one copy.
Yeah.
So I drove home. And then I was like, you know what? I have an hour and a half before I need to be like in my seat in the rehearsal. I'm making myself a pot of coffee.
Oh my God.
So I made myself a pot of coffee, and then I drank the coffee, and I'm not kidding, guys. Like within like 30 seconds of me drinking this coffee, it was like I woke up. Right?
Wow.
And that was the moment that I was like, oh shoot, I'm addicted to coffee. I really need to wean myself off of this. So, tangentially, what ended up happening with my coffee addiction was that I weaned myself down to 2 cups a day after that, which was a lot more reasonable and apparently is totally okay to upkeep. But the thing is, my skin can't really do it. So I actually do coffee more like 2 times a week now. All the other times are tea now. But yeah, which is a lot better for you apparently. But, I was like, oh man, this is bad. So I just kind of casually drove back to school, didn't tell anyone where I went, and just pretended like I was at school the entire time. And no one knew that I went home to get my music and come back with it. And I just kind of like sat in my, walked into rehearsal like nothing ever happened and just kind of sat down. And in my head, I'm still like thinking about the fact that like, holy crap, I'm addicted to coffee. This is really bad, right? So I guess my piece of advice there was, 1, don't be addicted to coffee because it's actually really bad for you, even though coffee is delicious, and I still think coffee is delicious. But the other thing is like don't put yourself in that headspace where you can make such drastic mistakes like this,
Yeah.
Like if you, for example, like in my case, that your parents are out for a week, you really should have the foresight that your routine is going to change that week. You can't take it for granted that you can continue the routine that you have been doing with when your whole family is at home. So I was definitely in the wrong headspace, was definitely in kind of the wrong expectations, like what we're talking about today, of what my routine was going to be like, which of course put me in the wrong, put me further in the wrong headspace, you know? So yeah, guys, slow down and think about, you know, think things through carefully and clearly.
Yep. So actually now when I have rehearsals or concerts, like gigs, professional gigs, I actually sit myself down and I try and envision everything that I need to prepare. I go over my list. Even if I don't write it down, it's a mental list that I check. Okay, I have this. Oh, I don't have that yet. Go get it, prepare it, make sure it is there. So if it is an early morning start, especially, have everything ready. Take that time, make that time to get the things ready, so you're not running around like crazy, or worse, driving around like crazy. That can be dangerous too.
I did a dangerous thing. Don't do what I did.
Yeah. I've done that before too, actually. Cutting it too close to concerts and rehearsals. It's not a good thing.
It's not. Like, I would go as far as to say that if you have the luxury of preparing everything the night before, do so before you go to bed. Pack your backpack, pack your instrument case, double check those checklists of what needs to be in those bags, in those cases. Prep your water bottles, prep your, you know, if you decide to make some meals to take with you, prep those meals the night before. Don't pack them the morning of. No. And in my case, what we really should have done was prep the coffee pot the night before. Because then what you can do is just go downstairs and press on. Right?
Yeah.
So, you know, or you can get one of those really fancy schmancy, you know, like timer ones with like, you know, that you can time what time of day it starts, you know, making the coffee for you. Yeah. You can get those. Like, you can even get the ones where you can like have an app on your phone and you can like put like, you know, you can actually tell it when to make coffee and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can, everything has an app these days, you know, like everything has an app, everything can be done Wi-Fi, blah, 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 Bluetooth, whatever. Yeah. But like back then, that's what I should have done. Like that would have put me in the right headspace, right? But the thing is, I would not have realized I was that addicted to coffee. So that experience kind of was a good thing for me. It was a wake-up call, literally, for me. Yeah. So I'm like, part of me is like, I could have done it better, where I prep everything the night before, including the pot of coffee. Then I would have been in the right headspace, right? But then again, I'm glad that I found out that I was addicted.
Yeah, well, I guess there's a lesson to be learned in every experience. Don't be too hard on yourself all the time.
Exactly. I mean, how else are you going to grow, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so I learned I need to make sure that all of my music is there.
Like, okay, if there are any younger people listening to this, so if we have if we have the honor of being listened to by teenagers, especially, if you ever wonder why some adults are so particular about their like night routine or like morning routine, okay, there's a reason why. And part of that reason are the stories that we are telling you today. Yeah. Why do I now pack my stuff the night before? It's because I had this experience, you know, like, why do I do that? It seems so silly. Like, why can't you just do it tomorrow? Right? Nuh-uh. I've had experiences that have made me regret not doing that. So yeah, it's all experience, you know, and like, if you make mistakes, you're making your own experiences, and that's not a bad thing either. Right?
Yeah. As long as you learn from them and try hard not to make the same mistake again.
I mean, we wouldn't have this podcast if not for all of those experiences, right?
No. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I mean, we're still here, so.
Yeah.
We made it.
Yeah, we made it.
We're okay.
Oh, man. Man, those are some good stories, man.
Oh,
Man. All right. Let's talk more about rehearsals, shall we?
yeah.
Oh.
You want to go share your experience?
Well, we made a note here that rehearsals are not the place to learn your music. Okay. So, the memories that I have are more so to do with my wind quintet because you can hide in band. You know what I mean? If they're in...
No, I will...
Oh, that's true!
I don't agree to that.
I could hide in band. And it's because there's so many dang flutists in band, right?
Okay, you share your story.
Okay, so I learned this lesson in wind quintet because in wind quintet, it's only one person on a part. And there's only 5 people playing. So if you make a mistake, everyone knows it's you. But the thing is, making a mistake, that part is actually not a big deal. It's actually kind of expected that like you'll hit a wrong note here. You'll like, you know, maybe accidentally play forte here instead of piano, or you might accidentally play an arrest when there's supposed to be a rest, blah, 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 right? Like that stuff is totally normal. And it can be embarrassing, but it's normal. But more what I realized was if I don't know my music and if it's very obvious I'm sight reading, everyone will know. Everyone will know. And if I don't know how their parts fit in with mine, as in I did not listen to a recording, they will know. Because I will not be like kind of like, I guess, anticipating playing with, you know, 1 or 2 people in the wind quintet, because normally in chamber music you're often paired with another player, or you're playing counterpoint or harmony with another player, and so you know you have to constantly know which person you're playing with, right? And you have to constantly know, okay, who has the solo now, right? Because it gets painfully obvious that you have no idea what's going on. If you're like doing the harmony part and going, boop, boop, beep, boop, boop, beep, boop, boop, beep, boop, 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 right? While like maybe like your poor like oboe or clarinet is like trying to play, you know, this lyrical thing that's supposed to be the melody, and you're like screaming up on top on the piccolo or on the flute or something, going beep, 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 and like thinking that you're the soloist, but you're not. Like it becomes painfully obvious that you have no idea what you're doing. And it's very, very like when you are a person in the wind quintet that has done their homework, it's very excruciatingly frustrating to work with people who clearly have no idea what's going on and did not do their homework, because you end up wasting a bunch of time telling them like, oh no, like I you know, I'm the melody there, or no, he's the melody there, and you waste a lot of time on stuff that you could have solved just by not even practicing, but just listening to the recording, you know? So yeah, I wasn't the person that, would be like, man, you didn't do your homework. I was the person who didn't do the homework in the beginning. And so there were times where I was like, oh, shoot, I really need to, like, I don't actually really know what's going on. So the way that I kind of got around it in the beginning when I wasn't really doing my homework was I just like put myself on like hyper observation mode, right? I like learned what it looks like and what it sounds like if I am doing a more harmony part, right? Okay. And then I also observed like what it sounds like when someone starts to take the lead or something, right? So like in a weird way, it helped me understand how chamber music works by not really being as prepared as I should have been. But immediately, I mean, you know that the next thing I did was go home and and actually practice. Yeah, like, and I would actually listen to it and I would actually practice the parts And sometimes what we would do is actually record ourselves. And I actually listened to our own recordings then. I just never did that solo for myself. I only ever did this type of practicing for my wind quintet. And for those of you who are wondering and did not listen to our last episode, that's where I talked about my whole like solo practice anxiety. But for my wind quintet, I did do the homework because it was fun. I felt like it was fun, and I was imagining us playing together, and it was just exhilarating for me. Yeah. But yeah, do your homework, because you're just gonna waste everyone's time if you don't. Like you could get so much further in your performance of it if you did your homework.
I agree. Yeah. Actually, though, I think that speaks to the differences of our instruments and the role that it plays in ensembles. Because my experience was the opposite of yours. In chamber music, although I don't think I was as avid a chamber musician as you were in undergrad. Yeah, I remember being jealous of you, actually.
Oh, really?
I was like, I wish I had a quintet that was that close, and we would travel together and make fun music together.
You ended up with a really good quintet in the end, though. Like I remember in the last year or two, something like that. Weren't you in a wind quintet too?
I was in several chamber groups, but I don't think many of them lasted that long.
Oh yeah, because ours lasted for the entire 4 years. Yeah.
The group that I played in that lasted the longest was, I think, maybe the bassoon quartet.
Oh yeah, that was so cute.
That was fun.
Oh my gosh. But I mean,
that one, well, again, we can't hide because one, it's run by our teacher, our professor, and everyone's bassoonist. So we all know if someone didn't practice or doesn't know their part. Yeah. Which was me sometimes. But my experience was that I could not hide in band or an orchestra.
Interesting.
I think just because of the parts that we play, they are harmonies. If we play a wrong note, the chord's going to clash all of a sudden.
Oh, because you're the bass note.
Yeah. We set the chord.
You set you set the tuning. Yeah.
Yeah, we do. And also we double some parts with the double basses or the cellos. Oh, yeah. And then sometimes the more rhythmic sections with maybe the horns. And if any of that is off, hey, bassoon. So, yeah, there wasn't really any place to hide, I think.
Yeah.
So, I learned...
Joanna here, interrupting to explain the next bit for our listeners who are not watching this on YouTube. At this point, my husband walked in and handed me a slice of brownie that he had just baked. The guy definitely knows the way to my heart. Anyway, back to the podcast. Hello. Are you serious? This is podcast cameo.
Ooh.
Brownie. Courtesy of the husband.
Our husbands are amazing.
I know, our husbands are amazing. Well, so.
Yeah. So I learned early on that if I didn't listen to the pieces, I did not know which sections I was playing with, and therefore would miss a line sometimes.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I learned that I need to listen to the piece, practice the piece, practice my parts.
Wow.
And also learn other people's parts too.
Yes, that's what I learned from wind quintet rehearsals.
I learned from orchestra.
That's so interesting. Because
we don't play the melody. We need to know where and when the melody comes in as a cue, I guess, especially if we're counting a lot of rests.
But that's why us flutes can hide, because it's very obvious when the melody is happening, and a lot of times we are the ones playing it. And then a lot of times, especially in band, you're doubled or tripled, right? So you just kind of play whenever your friends play.
Yeah, no, even in band, there's just only one or two of us.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
There was that rare time where we had four of us, but that was just one piece, I think. Do you remember like the Renaissance Dance Suite.
Yes, I remember it. Yes, I remember
I'm
it.
not pronouncing the title because I think I'm gonna say it wrong and I don't want to insult anyone.
Wasn't
But
it like
yeah,
the
that one.
king of something?
It's dancery or something like that.
Yeah. Okay, no, no, no. That's not what I was thinking of then. But I remember we did that Renaissance thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that one so
I
much.
did too. Oh my
That
God.
that was the only time I think I could remember that they called on four bassoonists. The only
Heaven.
time.
Heaven. That
Yeah,
was so cool. I really enjoyed that one.
it was.
But man, wow, that's really interesting how different our experiences were with that.
It is, but it has to do with the instrument you play, I
It
think.
does. Yeah. Like I basically my wind quintet was the one that kicked me into proper rehearsal etiquette.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um and I thank them for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Holy. Yeah. Wow. Well, um let's see. What else do we want to talk about? We should talk a little bit more about like what mistakes made in a rehearsal mean.
Yeah.
So, little mistakes versus large mistakes. I think we were mostly now talking about large mistakes because I feel like you only really make large mistakes if you really don't know what's going on.
Hmm.
But small mistakes. Let's talk a little bit about small mistakes.
Before we talk about that, what is your definition of a small mistake?
I think my definition is like a wrong note.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe like a wrong note, as in like everything else was fine, but you had a brain fart and you just like played the wrong note. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And or like maybe you have a rip and then maybe you kind of rough it up a little bit,
Right.
or let me think, what else are small mistakes? Small mistakes, maybe rushing a little bit, maybe dragging a little bit, but it's like what's going on, but you might just being like carried away a little bit or
Right.
something like that. But it's like it's more like if you have a general awareness of what's going on, but in the moment you have a brain fart. That's my
That
definition
makes
of a
sense.
small mistake.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how would you react if you made a small mistake, or how would you
I
like
used to be
what would you
mortified.
think?
Yeah, I used to be mortified by them, but because I think again it had to do with my like imposter syndrome type of stuff that I was developing at that point that went very much unchecked. But and I think the reason I was mortified by it because I would always tell myself but I'm not like that. I don't play that badly. But now all these people think I play very badly, right? And so I would sort of mistakenly connect those small mistakes to my like self-worth,
Yeah.
and that's what I would do differently now, right? And that's what I do differently now. Now it's like if I make a
Good for you.
if I make a mistake now, thank you, I stop and I tell myself it's okay, it was a brain fart, I'm human. This just shows me that I am not a robot, and that I am living. Yeah.
Living, breathing.
Yeah. Like I'm living, I'm breathing, therefore I will make honest mistakes. And I think that's the way I think of it now. I think of it as an honest mistake.
I like that term actually.
Right? Yeah, because it's an honest mistake. I know that I made the mistake. I'm not pretending that it's the right thing. Although in concert, you should pretend. Okay. In concert, you should pretend. But in rehearsal, it's okay to be like, to own up to it and be like, sorry, that was me, brain fart, sorry. You know? Like, and no one, like, in fact, one, no one will really care. Two, if people do care, if anything, they respect you more for owning up to those mistakes. So, yeah, that's what I used to do. I would kind of mix up those honest mistakes and not call them honest mistakes, but I would basically beat myself up. and say that I was bad and I was not worth playing the flute and I was not worth being a performance major and all those terrible things that you can say to yourself. I basically said to myself.
Oh gosh.
How did you deal with it? Oh, also, what is your definition of a small mistake?
My definition of small mistakes is actually quite similar to yours. Couple more things that I might add. It's like cracked notes.
Ah, yes. Yes.
I don't know if can you crack a note?
Yes, you can.
You can.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For us, like we can. It kind of goes like.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It's like a voice breaking, like puberty. Yes. Yeah.
So. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like a cracked note, especially slurs, or kind of slipping off of a run.
Yes.
You start it and then you something happens in between, but you catch up.
Yeah.
And you finish it.
Yeah.
So that's a small mistake. Or wrong intonation.
Yep.
Coming in, miscounting your rests, coming in the wrong spot. Things like that.
Yep.
Nothing large enough to derail the entire ensemble.
Exactly. Like I think brain farts are absolutely permissible. And they should be expected.
They're allowed.
Yeah, they are.
Let's say maybe a little bit more so in rehearsal.
Yeah.
But even if it happens in concert,
and it will.
It will. You know it will.
You know it will.
Yeah.
But how would you deal with it?
How
did you deal with it?
Yeah, I didn't deal so well with it, and I don't deal so well with it still, actually. Sorry to say.
But I mean, you're being honest right now, and that's what we want, right?
Yeah, I beat myself up pretty hard.
What kinds of things do you tell yourself?
I tell myself, "Oh gosh, you are so bad. Oh wow, how can you do that?" And like,
yeah.
What on earth are you doing?
Oh my God.
Like, you're a terrible musician. You're a terrible bassoonist. Like, there are so many other people who have played this and they don't make that mistake. Something like that. It's like I am very good at beating myself up, I think.
I've had those exact same thoughts.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
They still happen.
Oh man.
I have yet to find a way to kind of move past that. I try to dampen that voice early on.
Right.
Realizing that, oops, it happened.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
I know it happened. I know how to fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't hurt anyone.
I mean, like, I'm not a therapist, and this is not supposed to be a therapy session. But this does, I feel, relate to something that I discovered about myself very recently. So we're talking within the last couple weeks. I feel like I should tell a story to give everyone who's listening a wider context for why I think this way. So when I was 12, I was put up to go to a masterclass to play the Mozart Concerto in D.
Wow.
And now you have to keep in mind I was 12, so I had no idea what's going on. Okay. Didn't know what a masterclass was. Didn't know what to expect. You know, what kind of 12-year-old cares? Okay. So anyway, I didn't know what was going on, and I was definitely a child at that time. And so I started playing this concerto, the third movement to be exact. And then, but because I was so... there was just so many new things happening, and it just caused my adrenaline to go absolutely insane. And I got really nervous because this entire experience was so new to me that I just freaked out. Right. And this instructor stopped me about 1 to 2 lines in, stopped me. And I had a pianist with me, so he stopped the pianist too. And this was in front of everyone. Stopped it and looked at me and said, "Are you nervous?"
What did you say?
I have no memory of what I said.
Oh.
I just blanked out.
You blocked it out.
Yeah. I blocked it out. And I don't remember what I said. I only remember that memory of him stopping me and just literally looking me straight in the eye in front of everyone and said, "Are you nervous?" Yeah. So that was, I believe, the formative experience that started me down this anxiety. And when I would make a mistake, it would be like, because essentially that question poses a very huge implication. And the implication is that nervousness is bad, and you must be nervous because you're bad at this. At least, even if that's not what he meant, that's how a 12-year-old, that is what a 12-year-old would interpret, right?
Yeah.
So that is how 12-year-old me interpreted it. I interpreted it as, I must be nervous because I'm bad. I made these mistakes because I'm bad. And it just snowballed. And so honestly, I feel that the way that I have been able to get over the feelings of beating myself up when I make a mistake, like the reason why I can actually tell myself now that, oh, it's okay, it's just a brain fart, is because I think I have finally not just stamped out those feelings, but gone further back to trace back to that formative memory that caused those feelings to start to spawn, basically, right? That's my memory. My memory is that basically being publicly humiliated for being nervous.
Right.
And playing badly and playing too fast, right? If you really think about it, a 12-year-old playing too fast, is that really a big deal? No, it's expected. Of course, a 12-year-old is going to have way too much freaking energy, right? So thinking of it from a teacher's perspective, essentially now I'm like kind of talking to my 12-year-old self and being like, no, you had every right to be nervous. And that was a human thing to do. You were feeling human feelings, and you had every right to be nervous. And it's okay. And what you played was not bad, and it did not mean that you were bad. It was just the direct result of being nervous.
Yeah.
Right? So I essentially had to talk to myself. Like, talk to my 12-year-old self and tell my 12-year-old self that it was okay. And I found that after doing that, yes, it's a process. It's not immediate. But, if you really take the time to constantly talk to that 12-year-old self, at least for me, every time I had those feelings come up again, if I told myself to be like, no, let me talk to 12-year-old Joanna. Let's not just squash these feelings off to the side, right? Because I used to do that. I was like, no, what if I just talk to her, Then, like, I found that after doing that, like, I've definitely broken through, even just within the last couple of weeks. And some of you guys might be wondering how I learned to talk to my 12-year-old self. And it was because I have been listening to a therapist actually online, talking to streamers. And he goes by Dr. K. And you guys can find him on YouTube as Healthy Gamer GG. So if you guys look that up on YouTube, Dr. K is the one who essentially interviews a bunch of streamers, obviously with the streamer's permission to air it publicly. But essentially they do almost like a light therapy session in front of everyone. And this is one thing that he was talking about. He was like, when you have these intrusive thoughts and you have these really negative thoughts, you can't just squash them off to the side. You have to find out what was that formative memory that caused those to happen, because they're going to keep happening if you don't deal with the formative memory. So upon hearing that, I was like, I know exactly which memory it is of mine. So maybe I should talk to 12-year-old Joanna a bit more, you know?
Yeah.
And I can say that even though I haven't been to my own therapy session, even just hearing that and putting that into practice has really helped. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm really glad to hear that you found that, can we call it a breakthrough?
Yes, it was definitely a breakthrough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely feels like a
you.
breakthrough. Thank you. Yeah. So, you know, I thought this is something worth sharing with you
Yeah, it
and
is.
with
It
our
is, definitely.
listeners. Yeah.
And from a teacher standpoint, I mean, I definitely have my students coming to me from time to time saying, I'm nervous, or I ask them actually, are you nervous playing for me, playing in front of me? And they say, yes. And I tell them it's okay to be nervous because yes, you may interpret it as, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm bad at this, blah blah blah. Sure, I'm not going to discount your feelings, but at the same time, you could be nervous because you actually care.
Yes.
It stems from passion.
Yes.
You care. You want to do well.
Yes.
So harness that and give it your best. Even if your best is not what you think is the best, take from that experience and work towards improving it. Take the parts that you felt you did well, make note of that, see how you can keep that going strong. Make note of the parts that you weren't so good at or failed at, and find ways to help yourself improve. So again, that goes back to maybe something that we said in the previous episode, in episode 3. Bring those questions to your teacher.
Yep.
Say, oh, I'm not feeling too comfortable about this section or this piece or something. How can I approach it?
Yep.
So learn to address your problem spots, I guess, from a constructive point of view.
I think the way that because I have the same conversation with adults, because most of my students are adults, and so they really need they need the same talk, but in slightly different language. So if I may offer that language, I always tell them to separate the feelings, which are subjective, from the objective, which is the technical, right? So it's like, and that's exactly what you're talking about just now. It's that feel the feelings. So feel the feelings of nervousness. Feel the feelings of frustration. Feel those feels, right? But you have to keep in mind that those feelings are separate from technically what is happening, right? So it's like technically, and the kind of technical things I'm talking about is what's happening with your mouth, with your embouchure, like technically speaking, right? That is causing you to sound a certain way. What are your fingers doing? Are they drifting away from the keys? And is that why they take longer for you to come down to the keys, right? Like very technical stuff. Right? I mean, like they're objective, right? Literally, your mouth did this, therefore this sound happened. Your fingers did this, therefore you dragged or you rushed or your fingers desynced. Right? So I always, like, this is the language that I give to adults. I don't think that this is appropriate for children.
No, because that's the age that I teach.
Exactly.
Young children to late teens, I guess.
I basically take from where you leave off and up. Yeah.
So for me, a lot of it is rolled into like just helping them understand what they're feeling.
And that's what that age needs. That age group needs people like you to explain it like that to them. Like what they need to hear is for you to tell them that it's okay to feel nervous.
Yeah.
You know, because that's what 12-year-old Joanna needed to hear.
Yeah.
You know,
to validate them.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah. 12-year-old Joanna needed to hear that it's okay to be nervous. What ended up happening was just a very pregnant silence. And then I blocked everything out after that. You know?
Oh.
Yeah. So it's like, so the language that I would use for, because I think a lot of our listeners are going to be adults probably. So I wanted to also share basically the language that I find works for my adult students is separating the subjective feeling from the objective technical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that seems to really help people understand that you can feel frustrated and yet not also loop your technical, things that you have to improve on with your self-worth, right? Mm-hmm. That's where things can go unchecked for a really long time.
Yeah. It's a very good way of putting it.
Yeah.
To separate those two.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I need to learn how to do that. I mean, I find it a little bit baffling. I can tell my students what's okay, what's not okay. Mm-hmm. I can't do that to myself.
Here's the thing, is
it
that
just doesn't work.
Like, I think it's two separate things, though, right? Mm-hmm. Knowing what you should do versus you being able to do it, I think are two very separate things. And I think you are doing the right thing to tell your students to do the right thing. And they can basically live happier practice lives than you, right? That's what I always hope for my students too. Mm-hmm. But I think the working on ourselves thing, like, it's your own journey. Just because I've reached this breakthrough, right, it has no bearing on your journey, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, what I could say is that you will get there. You just have to find the time and the energy to face those deep-seated memories, you know? And the thing is, sometimes you just don't got time. You know?
I don't got time.
Sometimes you don't got time, you know? So, like, it's whenever you do have time to face them, then great. You know, there's nothing wrong being where you are in your journey, right? Like, I think that whenever you do reach your breakthrough, that like, what I realized is that I needed all of that time that I was struggling with it. I mean, I guess technically speaking, I've been struggling with this practice anxiety. I think it sounds like a bit longer than you have, right?
I definitely wasn't playing bassoon when I was 12.
Yeah, so like I've been struggling with it since I was 12. So like almost 20 years. Yeah. So almost 20 years. So like, you know, it's a long time. I basically started this earlier, right? So
you did.
You know, it's like, I think I got to a point where I was like, I'm getting into my 30s. Mm-hmm. I need to figure this thing out, you know? Yeah. So I hid on Twitch for 2 years. Hid in my little internet hole in Twitch to figure myself out.
It worked.
Yeah, it did. Anyway.
Well, I think one big lesson that we can take away from this is allow yourself to be human.
Yeah. I think...
And it's okay if it takes time.
I think that's the theme of today's episode, eh?
I think so.
Yeah. We're not robots. We are human, and you have to slow down, think things clearly, be able to separate your feelings, but feel your feelings thoroughly, but be able to separate it from technically what is happening, right? Like, it's totally fine to be human.
And you should be. Because if you try to be anything but, it is going to cause more damage, I think.
Yes. I feel like...
take you a longer time to recover.
I feel like both of us are examples of that, of what could happen to you if you let it damage you. Yeah, as I said earlier, we are both very damaged. But, you know, we still love music. We're still doing it, you know?
And if I had to choose a career path all over again, I think music will still be there.
Same.
I don't think I can live without it.
Same. Like, if I, like, knowing what I've gone through to get to this point, as weird as it sounds, I would do it again.
In a heartbeat.
I would. I would. Yeah. It's painful, but I know that it's shaped who I am now. It's led me to you. You know, it's led me to my husband.
Yeah.
It's like, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, and led you to your husband.
Very much so.
Yeah. Like we would not be having our lives now if not for all that stuff we went through. Like the butterfly effect is insane from choosing music as our path, you know?
Yeah. But
Well,
also to have someone to walk on this path with, in a way, which has been you.
yeah.
You've been there all along.
Yep. You too.
That's a theme that is coming up soon.
Yes.
We will cover that.
We will cover that very soon. The importance of community.
Friendship.
Yes. Don't lone wolf this, guys.
No.
Music is not for lone wolves. Yeah. Well, I think that's a good place to stop. What do you think?
I think so.
Yeah? All right.
Yeah. Well, that is it for this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in and for listening and for watching. If you have questions or comments or you want to share your experiences especially, we are on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, and this will be up on YouTube as well, and anchor.fm.
Yep.
And we have our email address as well. It is letsplayitbyear.podcast@gmail.com. If you have anything to share again, you can share it through our social media platforms or reach out to us through email.
Wonderful. Well, we'll see you guys and talk to you guys all next time.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.